What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to the greatest disaster on the internet. It's the Four Heads Podcast. I'm Goldenboy. You got Sideshow, Reinforced, and Bren, and we're here to talk about important topical issues that are obviously weighing on the minds of our viewers and listeners. And I hope everyone's been safe, feeling well. I'm trying to give us a very insightful opening to the episode because the first thing that we're going to talk about is honestly just something so dumb it needs to continue to be covered on this show because it creates so much great discussion. Bren continues to be at war against the ants. And there's this saga that seems to be developing that honestly I'd be angry if we didn't turn it into a full-fledged anime at this point. So what's up, Bren? You find these,
my mental is being slowly whittled down. The ants are keeping me up at night. Not only did I have trouble sleeping 2 nights ago, but I dreamt of the ants invading my room. And I woke up and I find that the ants have invaded my room.
Dear God.
I dreamt it.
Wow, it couldn't possibly be a coincidence.
I was rolling in my sleep. Being kept awake. I look over. I see a collection of 20 ants, if not more.
On your bed or just in your room? Okay.
Next to my rug.
Oh, wow.
And I'm wondering what the fuck's going on. Okay, I'm questioning it.
What happened to your alliance with the spiders, though?
I'll get into that. Listen, calm. Calm
okay.
Yourself, okay?
Okay.
I believe I have picked up the ability to detect ant pheromones subconsciously.
What are pheromones?
That's how ants communicate. It's like a smell that humans can't detect normally. I think I subconsciously are picking it up. I wouldn't have dreamt of the ants. My anxiety wouldn't have been high, in the night if I didn't know that the ants in some way or form were coming for me, and they did. And it was like an early warning system. I woke up, rolled over to the further side of my bed. I never do this. I distinctly remember I rolled over to the side of the bed, and I look over my bed and I see the ants. I swear to God, I dreamt of the ants in my room.
Well, you're right. There's no possible other reason why that might have happened. Couldn't possibly be the stress of the fact that you've had to engage in ant warfare now for a long time. Couldn't be that.
But why? I've never dreamt of them before, Josh. Why now?
I don't know the exact reasons why it would be now rather than any other time, but it's clearly just a coincidence because
I'll tell you what I've done.
Oh, go on.
I've ordered. So I spoke to Tay Zonday, and he gave me a lot of advice with the ants because he has this problem a lot.
Rewind. Hold on. Chocolate Rain.
Yes.
How did this conversation happen?
So on the broadcast, I was, regaling the ant wars on the Owl broadcast, and it was the same day he was a guest on the desk, and he was watching the match, and he sent me a DM saying
Tay Zonday was a guest on the Overwatch League desk.
Yes.
Heard you talking about
the
ant war.
Yep.
And then DM'd you.
Yeah, with
advice
like 3
on
essays.
dealing with essays on ant.
Three essays on ant warfare. He's
There's
done
just
this a
so
lot.
much to unpack there. It really.
So the first
Impressive.
thing he linked was the liquid ant tarot traps that I've been using, and they're pretty good at attracting the ants. They've been killing a couple of them, but the important thing is that the poison gets taken back to the nest to kill the queen. Trouble is, we've gone through about $80 worth of those, and the ants don't stop coming, and they don't stop coming. Yeah.
Wow.
So now I ordered off Home Depot $45 worth of hot shot roach killing max powder.
What the fuck?
Which Tay Zonday said, you essentially. So here's what he said, word for word. I said, yeah, I've tried this and it's kind of working, but not really. And he was like, really? Send me a link to this. He said, ants require symbiotic bacteria in their guts to digest their food. Boric acid in a matter similar to salt disinfects their guts and kills this symbiotic bacteria. It's odd for the Tero ant killer to not kill them if you're aggressive with them and chasing closer and closer to the source. Second non-toxic option is larger quantities of boric acid dusted around the perimeter of the house and powdered into crawl space openings and crevices. And he's linked me this device, of which I then went to buy $45 worth. First by itself, and then to be a real asshole, mix the boric acid half and half with confectioner's sugar in a half-empty bottle. Shake them together, then do the same in the cracks and crevices around the perimeter, and it will actually kill other bugs attracted to the sugar too. So this is the next phase of warfare. It's arriving today. I've ordered it. Now I will say the Tero ant poison is doing well. We've actually seen a reduction in ant cases across both the northern front and the southern front, and my bedroom. So we're doing pretty well on that regard, and I think that when this next weapon comes in, we'll be ready for them.
I just went down the rabbit hole of Tay Zonday's Twitter. And it's no, well, I mean, he's great. I've always been a Tay Zonday fan. He did a song recently about the economy that I thought was very topical for today. And it's just I'm still just kind of blown away by that whole Tay Zonday thing because I try to watch the Overwatch League a lot. There's always like something going on, or I'm working, or something along those lines. But that completely went under my radar that Tay Zonday was on the freaking Overwatch League.
Yeah, hey, man, he was great.
Yeah. He was good.
Apparently people loved him. They apparently really enjoyed him. But again, it's like 2020, bro, is a fucking weird ass year, dude. Like it's just so crazy.
I even saw some people on my Twitter timeline when it was announced that Tay Zonday was going to be on the broadcast. They were like, oh, Overwatch League, they're so out of touch. Like, why they're bringing Tay Zonday on? Like, he did Chocolate Rain like a decade ago. But he's actually like very invested in the league, and he's a fan of the LA Valiant, has a good relationship with some of the staff and management of the team. And even came on the show and like bantered with me and Costa, like talking about our pro player career. So like he's obviously someone who's very clued in and knows the league. So it was great to have him on. It just looked weird for like outsiders. We're like, why is he on?
It's crazy, dude. Like that actually is that was a crossover I just never knew would actually happen. So that's pretty dope. But Bren, it does also raise some concerns right now that you're talking about your home as if it's some kind of some kind of theater of war.
I mean, it is at this point.
It is
Goldenboy.
Yeah,
it is.
Yeah.
Every day I wake up and I wonder what have they taken from me. And I wonder what have they gone for next. My kitchen is constantly invaded by them, and I think a big part of it is because I live with 5 other guys and they don't clean up crumbs. And they don't clean up after themselves, so they're leaving easy access food. But at the same time, I poisoned so much that I'm basically planning to kill the mega colony that exists in California. There's a mega colony that exists over 600 kilometers in California, I believe.
Yeah.
And you believe the epicenter is underneath your house?
Possibly.
Could they be trying to communicate though? Now that they're in your dreams, do you think that they're there?
I still don't know where the ones that were next to my rug came from. I don't know. And the poison seems to have killed a lot of them. I think what happened was, so what I did was the poison I left in my bathroom because they were going through my bathroom. And there was a couple left, but they were just kind of roaming around. And normally that means that the poison has disorientated their senses and they're unable to detect the pheromones and they're dying. So what I did was I thought it was safe then to seal off the entrance of where they were coming from. So I took my silicon sealant and I sealed out the gaps, causing them to have no way to exit. And I thought that the ones remaining were so disorientated they would just die off naturally. I think that's where the 20 came from. They just found their way to a corner of my rug, and because that's where all of them were in that one spot, which is odd. There was no food there. I hoovered.
It's like it was like they were creating a new colony.
We're trying to, but it was in the open floor, so I could.
What
just
if they
see.
saw you as their queen?
At this point, I wouldn't be surprised. But
yeah,
they. All I can tell you is this is taking a mental toll on me.
I'm getting ready for the possibility that this is just a bizarre alternate version of Shutter Island, where Bren is sort of imagining himself as this like detective and he's here to solve the crime, which is the Ant War. And he's going through this so hard, like emotionally, and everyone around him are like agreeing, like, yeah, Bren, the ant war is a big problem for us. Yeah, all the ants, they're out of control. And he's having visions about all of these ants like invading his room and taking over the kitchen. And, in the end, we might have to reevaluate whether Bren is still sane or if we're just playing like a game to make sure that he's,
Disagree. What if like, we are always worried about, AI and technology taking over the world. But what if AI actually meant ant invaders? And that is the thing that we needed to be worried about.
I tell you though, honestly,
what if Bren is fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger and he's all like, "Come with me, you want to live?"
Wait, why would? Sorry.
Us?
Why would Bren be fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger? What? How does that follow?
I feel like
no. I think you misinterpreted.
There needed to be a comma. There needed to be a comma in the middle of that.
Typical Sideshow.
I don't think Bren is having
him. I am.
But you know what? If you want to, that's fine because it's 2020.
But it's funny that you mentioned AI because watching these ants, what I've been learning their patterns. Sometimes I become enamored as I watch the ants flow throughout the battlefield because, as Sun Tzu said, if you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. And so I've been trying to learn the patterns of the ants to learn where they're coming from so that I don't need to fear the results of these hundreds of battles that are taking place. And I've been learning, I mean, you joke, but I've been learning the patterns of movement and how they operate. And the way they work is they send out scouting parties to probe. And as soon as you see one ant, you know that a lot are going to be following because the chemtrail is already there. And I'm not talking about the frogs turning homosexual or whatever the hell Alex Jones likes to talk about with chemtrails. I'm talking real pheromones, real business.
Right.
Are you scared that you'll get poisoned yourself?
Well, I'm not eating the ants.
No, but like it's like, breathing it.
It's liquid.
Like you're spreading so much chemicals around your house that, it's going to affect you.
Little packets of liquid that they can't evaporate because they're enclosed.
So how do the ants
I don't know how it works, but
they crawl in and then they drown, and the ones that actually get the poison, they take it back.
I see. What a messed up little battle you're having.
I've aged 5 years.
Yeah, it is quite stressful though, right?
This year's kind of sucked.
Oh, you don't say.
Yeah,
you don't say.
No, it's been pretty bad.
This year's kind of sucked. I'm gonna be real with you.
Yeah.
Stress levels going up.
I'm finding it difficult to sleep a little bit on the nights, which is very unusual for me.
Why is that, Joshua?
I think just because of the monotony of every day, and because I'm not getting outside, I'm not like I don't know.
You should try playing World of Warcraft. You get gear upgrades and you progress in your World of Warcraft character every day.
Yo, people were so mad at me for being angry about old school RuneScape. Like in the comment section,
it's the second most popular MMO in the world.
Shut up! Someone, I don't know who said it, but they were like, "How dare you disparage the good name of old school RuneScape?" Yeah. And I'm like, "Dog, it looks like a child's game. Like I'm not."
Oh, you're doubling down. You're doubling down.
It doesn't have the girth and brevity of Minecraft. It's just absurd.
You are but a simple plebeian.
Am I really?
Shouting into the void.
I am not. I am not the one that is currently engaging in a war
When
with
the
ants.
ages pass, old school RuneScape will be remembered, and you will be but a forgotten speck of dust.
Do you feel confident that when the
backdrop of the
aliens,
universe.
inevitably come here, that if we left them old school RuneScape, do you think that they would have interpreted us as a bunch of just heathens in society?
Do you think
Like-
that if the aliens came and we left them they would think the same?
They would be immediately drawn by my grace, poise, humbleness, and overall fame. So yes,
Humbleness.
I do think so. I actually linked a tweet from someone. It's in the doc. I just thought it was really funny because he says on December 31st, 2019, we was just partying, not knowing what the fuck we was finna walk into.
Yeah.
I mean, it's dark, but it's true.
There's a couple of comments on the episode that I just want to read out and highlight here. This one from 22 Imon, which I'm assuming is like Simon. He says, I'm always confused when people say they're hungover because personally I never get hungover. My alcohol tolerance is at a Yoda Chad level. Are you sure you're not just 18?
yeah, probably.
Yeah, that could be the case, actually.
Because I used to
yeah.
not believe in hangovers, and I actually really annoyed someone once by claiming that hangovers don't exist while shit-faced. And they exist.
Yeah. Well, surprise, everyone else was right. I was wrong.
Josh, you would know. What is the science behind hangover? If you drink enough water, can you get rid of a hangover?
I don't think so, no, because part of it is to do with dehydration levels, but alcohol prohibits your body from being able to actually keep the water inside of you that you drink, because I think you studied this in like A-level biology as well, so I'm sure there's people in the comments that will also be able to remember this. It's like ADH receptors get activated in the collecting walls
I
of
learned
your...
this in GCSE biology.
Yeah, GCSE biology or something.
Oh, you guys remember what you did in school? Wow. That's,
I remember certain weird
I
things.
remember
That's
something
fucking
about
don't
the
know.
water not being retained by your body and just floods out. That's why you piss so much.
Yeah.
Your body's not actually retaining any of the water.
I always love the logic of like, if I eat bread, then I won't get that drunk. I just love that. I always had this mental image in my mind of,
wait, really?
yeah, like they will always say, like, you know, make sure if you like, well, you know, they say like don't drink on an empty stomach, right?
Oh yeah.
So, you know,
I don't know why that is.
but yeah, but I think it's just because obviously it's like this is how science works in Goldenboy's mind, by the way. So I'm thinking to myself, right, that like if I eat bread, then it goes into my belly, and then it sits there, and then as the alcohol droplets fall from my mouth hole, it will
Alcohol
absorb and not.
I mean, there's some
you know-
science to that. If you have some like starchy foods that it can soak up, I think there's an argument for that, but I don't know what the science is behind it. But I know that when I eat a lot of carbohydrates, I feel like I can handle a lot more alcohol.
Josh, explain.
I think it's just because your stomach is full, so you absorb it more slowly. So like when it goes into your stomach, it just takes longer to absorb into your bloodstream.
Wait.
I think that's the only difference. I don't think it actually means that you can handle more. I think it just goes slower. Also,
So
Alex,
if you have an
did
empty
you
stomach-
activate like science mode on your mixer, because your gain just went up like 20%?
Yeah. Well, in the last episode, a lot of people complained about my mic.
Oh, that was
okay.
That's just me
Oh,
being
so-
an incompetent fucking fool.
Science
So is it
mode.
fine now? Is it fine now? So
I
can
don't
bring it
know.
back
Just
down?
you started talking about
Science mode.
You just started.
Is it better? Is it better now?
How are we supposed to be balanced when like shit like this is happening?
Yeah, I mean, Johnny.
Did you
there's,
understand?
I'm
You
hearing
took
a
a-
lot of air in Johnny's mic too. Is anyone else hearing that as well? Like,
I don't have a fancy Go XLR, so I have to custom make my voice sound effects.
Jesus Christ.
Like this. Hello,
Oh.
sorry, audio listeners.
Well, we
We
have,
are-
Me.
How are we supposed to gain followers?
we have
gentlemen,
zero audio.
let's move
listeners.
on. Let's move on. Thank you.
I
Okay.
don't think we do this podcast anymore with aspirations of growing it into anything. It's just
Oh yeah, no,
it's an
we're
excuse,
way
I
past
think, at
that.
this point to get together and just shoot the shit, you know?
Yeah, because
but
like,
what
here's,
happened
here's
to
the
the
problem.
5-star reviews?
Oh, they're gone. They're done.
I think
We
people
do-
just
I
I
don't
think
know.
people just got tired of like I mean look I
Us.
think we've asked all of our listeners at this point to leave us reviews. They've done it. Obviously it had I mean look guys, we have 206 ratings. That's pretty good considering that like you know, I mean, this podcast is it's pretty fucking trash, you know. So I think that's a huge win. I mean, it's not a win for society, but it's a win for us four, you know, to give us some an iota of hope that there's something out there that's more than whatever it is that Bren's dealing with in his Ant Wars. Johnny with his Postmates not giving him the alcohol he desires.
Oh, it's on its way now, actually. So.
Josh looking to fight the fire god in Avatar. Like, there's just a lot of things right now.
There's no fire god in Avatar.
It's true. I haven't watched it yet. I haven't watched it yet. I've never watched Avatar. I never said I watched Avatar.
Oh, by the way, Josh, I've got to say this to you as well. Are you still watching Attack on Titan because you're bored?
Yes, I have carried on actually with Attack on Titan.
I mean, continue watching it if you're enjoying it, but are you still enjoying it?
I see, it did this classic thing with anime where it is horse shit at the beginning and then develops into being somewhat entertaining in about the middle of the first series.
Okay.
So yeah, it was okay. Once the thing is, I kind of spoiled it for myself because years ago I read the synopsis on Wikipedia of the entire storyline.
Oh, when the manga was out.
Yeah, when the manga got released, I read
So
the
you
entire
know
storyline.
a lot.
Yeah, I know it all, and actually, like the storyline is
You
the
don't
most.
know it all because I don't think the manga I think only just
Was it not completed? Oh right.
When did you? Well, you probably know.
I'm saying
Hold
like
on,
3 years ago I
healthy
read
amount.
Oh, can I? Okay, can I, everyone who hasn't caught up with Attack on Titan that wants to listen or whatever, mute now. And Josh, I just want to ask, what do you remember
it. What do I remember?
from the synopsis?
Fucking who knows, mate. I mean, I've read so much stuff since then. What do I remember? It was some woman in the bushes who decided to make the Titans, and like the abnormals are some people living inside them, and they're fucking around, and I can't even remember what else. They go out. I can't even remember.
Johnny, I think Johnny's checked out. I think he's actually checked out. And no one going to address the fact that Johnny has like wind in his background in his microphone. Is not no one else hear this?
I thought that was you.
It's
not me. It's not me. Go fuck yourself. All right, because I put noise gate on my mic and it sounds. I think it sounds good.
I need a Go XLR. Where do I get one?
Yeah. Well, good luck because they're nowhere to be found. Yeah. You know. It's just there's just so many problems here, and this, yeah.
I love Alex is just like, are we not going to address how Johnny has wind or something? Like I'm outdoors, like I'm literally inside, and you're like, is there wind in Johnny's apartment?
Like you dead ass got like a fan hitting your mic like straight on, you know? Like I mean I don't know, maybe I do too.
It was just the AC, bro. It was hot.
It's well that's fair. That's fair. Position your mic better then, or put a filter, put a noise gate on it. You know,
on Discord, there's no noise gate on Discord.
Oh yeah, fair enough. Yeah, you got me there.
Well, what are you taking me to be?
Anyway.
I don't know. I don't know what to say.
Oh,
I was going to say something too. Are you going to talk more about Attack on Titans?
I was just going to ask Josh to watch something else if he's not enjoying it, but he seems to be enjoying it.
What were you going to suggest
something, Josh?
No, I've already started watching Lord of the Rings, mate. I'm just going to watch Lord of the Rings on repeat forever. Yeah.
Sorry.
You watching Lord of the Rings?
Yesterday I started with the Fellowship of the Ring because
time ever?
I was talking to not first time, definitely not.
It's like that was like concerning.
I watch it roughly once a year, honestly. And
I do that with Back to the Future, so fair enough.
We did watch it in December.
Back to the Future.
Don't you fucking dare. Don't you fucking dare. I will destroy you.
I mean, it's all right.
It's a good trilogy, Josh.
It's a good first movie. I don't know whether it's a good trilogy.
Out there.
Trilogy, as in you still love Back to the Future 2 and 3.
Yes, of course.
Oh my God.
You haven't seen Back to the Future?
Back to the Future is a fantastic first movie, but as a trilogy,
it's a good.
I think it's a pretty good trilogy, Josh.
Yes.
It holds up.
Just say why. Is it story reasons or?
Yeah, I mean, the thing that I think that made it so awesome was just the concept, was the idea. And once you repeat it with just minor iterations, I don't know, it just gets
that's what I
tired.
hear from Goldenboy and Bren. Like, what made the second and third movie worthy of a trilogy?
Well,
why was that a good trilogy?
From a fan of the films, so the first movie obviously was great because it dealt with going back in time and the time machines and stuff like that. And then in the second movie, they kind of went like back and forth, So there was a little bit of it was about how the future or how the past affected the future, and stuff like that. And then the third movie just went all the way back in time to like the beginning of the creation of the town and that they lived in, and it was just like it was good continuity. Like they kept everything together. It's very easy like to lose track of something like that with a with like think about Terminator, for example, right? Like really for me, Terminator ends after Terminator 2. Like all the other movies are just garbage. Like they're just not really good. And some people are going to be like, oh, but I don't know what the new one that came out. They were like, oh, that one was good, and but it's like no,
the new
like,
one with Arnie in it. I didn't watch
yeah,
that one.
Yeah, like everyone said it was good, and I'm like, I don't really think so. But like Terminator 1, Terminator 2 was fantastic. Terminator 3 was just like, I don't know what the fuck was going on.
Yeah,
Then they like Genesis, and so it's but that's also because of the fact that the storyline got super convoluted, and then like going back in time, the mechanically it didn't make any sense. Like a lot of things that they did. And
whereas Back to the Future, riding really fast in a DeLorean does make a lot of sense to go back in time.
No, shut the fuck up, Josh. You can't just hype up Lord of the Rings, a fucking movie about dragging orcs from fucking mud or some shit, and how there's like magic eyes, and you can't just say that that's like good now.
You're not wrong. Lord of the Rings is great.
You can't talk shit about Back to the Future because of its realism.
Can't you guys just like
wait a second. No, of course you can. If you have a film that's set in the real world, then you are constrained by realism. If you set your world in a fantasy world, then you set
sci-fi movies are just irrelevant.
No. Sci-fi movies also, though, have to obey the internal logic that they set, right? Like you can't have
Back to the Future did that.
Yeah. I think that Back to the Future
was
it was all right. It was all right.
Josh is hooked.
What? I said
caught
that,
you.
No, what do you mean you caught me?
Because you said that the movie. No. Listen, you said that the movie needed to hold on to the aspects of reality in order for it to.
I was saying that's what you said. No, I didn't. I said that riding a DeLorean doesn't make sense for going back in time. I didn't say that it defied its own internal logic.
No, because what you said was that the reality of the situation of the movie was set in the real world, and that it had to adhere to certain rules. That's basically how you interpreted it.
That's
but what
that's
I'm
what
explaining
they
to you
should
is that
do.
it's a fucking movie, bro.
No, that's such a stupid argument. It really is. Like it annoys me whenever people bring this up. The idea is like
when people don't like Back to the Future.
No, it's not about Back to the Future. It's just about this argument in general. Back to the Future is a good movie. It's fine with its own internal logic. But if you have a movie like Back to the Future and then suddenly there's a talking tree in the middle of it, that is wank. But if you have a movie that's a fantasy movie already and there's a talking tree in it, that's fine. You can't just say that it's all a movie, so it doesn't matter if the fucking road starts, I don't know, forming holes all over the place. All movies have to obey their own internal logic, and fantasy also has to adhere to that. But you can't just write off like any criticism of a movie as being, well, you like fantasy, so that's dumb. It doesn't make any sense.
But that's not it, because here's the issue. I love Lord of the Rings as well. So my dispute with what you said is that you were annoyed by the fact that the DeLorean was the conduit upon which they traveled through time.
No, I'm not annoyed by that whatsoever. What I said was...
Then what did you mean?
I was mocking you, saying that the Terminator was convoluted or had like unrealistic
the way they
time travel.
The concept of time was convoluted. not that how they achieved
this conversation.
Oh, Bren, go fuck yourself with your fucking ants and your RuneScape, okay? We're out here talking about Back to the Future, trilogies, and Lord of the Rings.
Back to the Future's good. I think Lord of the Rings is good.
Almost all time travel movies are pretty bad because the way in which they deal with it is naturally kind of wrapped up in...
Hot Tub Time Machine has to disagree with you because...
Just fucking ignore science for a second.
But you can't.
Watch
That's
cartoons,
the thing.
like
can't, because he's Dr. Evil. He's got to control
What do you mean?
science.
You cannot suspend disbelief for a film for a concept that in theory could possibly happen, but in reality would not.
Well, but that's the issue. And I'm not talking about Back to the Future here, because I think they actually do a fairly good job of avoiding this. But a lot of sci-fi movies, especially ones that deal with time travel, over-explain things to try and make them seem more realistic.
Yes,
and they just
I
fuck
agree.
it up by making it sound even more ridiculous. Because
Terminator.
I mean, did Terminator do that? I don't know, probably.
Yeah, but with all the other movies, not with the first two. But go on. Sorry.
Yeah.
But that's what I'm saying. I agree with you.
Yeah, and I think just generally, like, time travel doesn't really make for great movies unless your concept is fantastic. But that's kind of why I don't really think that Back to the Future was that great as a trilogy, though, is because it had a really cool element to it, like a really cool concept at the beginning. And it was one of the first movies, not the first, but, you know, one of the first big movies to explore those kind of concepts. And then you just kind of iterate on it. You don't do anything new. You just explore
Well, yeah, I
different
mean, that's what they
times.
did. They like, so Johnny, you've never seen Back to the Future, am I
I
understanding?
mean,
this?
I've seen like I don't remember seeing it because it was like so long ago. Like, I remember like half
Fair.
of it, you know, but I haven't seen the second or the third.
Good movie.
So no, the trilogy is great. So while I will agree with Josh on that, you know, they didn't really like do anything different, but I also think
Beer.
that there are times, I'm explaining Back to the Future, this motherfucker, and he just gets up, just get his freaking beer. I can't even with this guy right now. I dead ass
You're
can't even with
talking
this guy
about
right now.
Someone else?
Yeah, go on. Save us. Johnny clearly doesn't
What?
care about the beautiful culture that we're trying to imbue upon him.
I know. It's very frustrating. If any of our if any of our audio and video listeners are out there, I would just love to know your opinion on whether or not you think Back to the Future is a great trilogy, a bad trilogy. Does it stand up to something like, can it be in the trilogy conversation of movies like Lord of the Rings and Star Wars? And I mean, I guess we don't count Die
Star
Hard as
Wars
a trilogy
really a
anymore, but
trilogy?
the original trilogy. It is still for a lot of people those three movies.
That's
like,
weird,
yes,
though,
there
right?
are a lot of other films, but like I think it's just because of the period that they were released, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like with Die Hard, you know, like you had 4 Die Hard movies, I think 4 or 5, right? But there was a point where everyone was like the Die Hard trilogy, you know, like Die Hard 1, 2, and 3, like that was the trilogy. The Dark Knight trilogy is another really good example, right? Like that is I would consider that in the top of, you know, good trilogies, you know. But then you wouldn't really count like Avengers as a trilogy because yeah, there were 3 movies, but they were connected to all these other different things. So it's not really like a trilogy. Can you watch the 3 movies on their own with no context? Probably not. Like you could probably watch the first one, but you won't be able to get away with the second, and you definitely won't be able to get away with, well, actually, no, it's not even a trilogy because there's 2 final movies. So yeah, but had they done 3 Avengers Endgame movies, which would have been ridiculous, by the way, but I would have totally watched all of them. Then that could have actually been considered a trilogy. So anyway, moving on though, I love to hear what you guys think in the comment section. Kind of interested in that. I'm a little disappointed in Josh. My heart is broken, but we'll move past it. We'll work past it. You know, maybe I'll just shave my head so that we can be in solidarity.
Most trilogies are really bad. Most trilogies.
Yeah, that's what makes
rate it. What
okay.
trilogy's
But
bad?
here's the thing. That's what makes Back to the Future a good trilogy.
Is that they
everything
didn't
it's compared
flop?
to is it landed, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fine, but like, I think that with most trilogies, the problem is if you make the first one or the first 2 amazing, it's really hard to keep up that pace and deliver all 3 at a really high level. And so I could see that argument actually being pretty good. I mean, I think that Lord of the Rings does a great job, but you think about other trilogies, the big famous ones like Godfather, for example, Godfather 3,
Never seen any.
not as good
Godfather
as
films.
1 and 2. 1 and 2, spectacular. Matrix, I mean, first movie, unbelievably good, and kind of goes downhill from there.
Yeah.
The
Wow.
Matrix, Matrix is actually no. Here, I actually found a list. This website, Empire Online, actually shared the 33 greatest trilogies.
I mean, the Star Wars, once you get past the first 3, but yeah, the actual original
funny
trilogy
enough,
themselves.
Lord of the Rings labeled as number 1. Star Wars, the original Star Wars trilogy, is labeled as number 2. Because again, a lot of people treat those movies separate. And
the
then
Bourne
Back to the
movies
Future.
are so good, actually. You ever seen those? The Born Identity, the
Oh,
Born
yeah, they're
Supremacy, the
fantastic.
Born
Yeah, they are
Ultimatum.
pretty good,
They're
actually.
fantastic. But I think that number 3 was arguably the weakest of them. It's just difficult to wrap up a story in a way that feels very...
Yeah, I mean, this list just gives Lord of the Rings, the original Star Wars trilogy, and Back to the Future. It's the top
Pirates of the Caribbean actually
Pirates
was a
of the
pretty
Caribbean.
solid. That no, don't sleep on it, bro. That actually
That's
was
actually
a
pretty
solid
good.
trilogy.
Ah,
It
was
wasn't
it?
the best.
I don't know if it's
but it
a
was
solid trilogy.
First
wasn't the
movie
best,
was
but it was
really
solid.
good, but
Yes,
the second one was acceptable. The third
I
one...
like the second movie. The third one was
I
kind
actually
of
quite
ass
like the
cheeks.
third one. Just because of
Really?
that scene when they're going around the whirlpool and then they're fighting on the ships crossing each other.
Ah, that was
is one of those,
shite.
shut the fuck up for a second.
What the fuck are we talking
okay?
about?
You Lex Luthor looking motherfucker. I'm gonna polish the wall.
You were wearing a
Oh,
turtleneck
head.
today
I'm
too.
gonna polish your little head, and I'm gonna bowl with you.
Mm.
So chill.
Oh, I just lost everyone. What the hell? Where did they go? Hello?
Hello?
What is
Hello,
going
what
on?
happened?
Hello? Bren went on a tirade and my internet dropped.
I thought you just quit because you couldn't handle my accusations.
You all disappeared?
No, it's
Yeah.
your internet that died, right? Anyway, what was I saying? Yeah, anyway, your head's like a bowling ball, and I'm gonna bowl with your face if you're not careful. But besides the point, the swirling whirlpool scene,
Mm.
you don't think that was cool? When they're on opposite ships and they're sword fighting across a whirlpool while a kraken is in the middle.
It's,
Like,
Yeah.
it was...
Actually, one of the coolest scenes I've
Was
ever
it-
seen in my life.
I don't know. Like, for me, when I think...
The music,
When I try
the
and...
orchestra.
Oh, yeah, the music is fantastic.
Do you have
Yeah,
no
no,
soul?
genuinely fantastic.
But
No,
when I
those
think
are great.
when I think of cool and Pirates of the Caribbean, I think of the first movie where you're introduced to Captain Jack Sparrow and he just kind of like fumbles his way into being able to escape, and you know the like classic line of that must be the worst pirate I've ever seen, and he's like, oh, but you have heard of me.
That came
Like
from,
that's
the
Well,
fourth
that's
one.
not cool. That's like
no, that was the first one.
Oh, that was like the fifth film where he says that has to be the worst pirate I've ever seen.
No, that's a callback to the first movie, Bren. Come on. It's like
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah,
Damn.
anyway,
because he
the-
says that has to be the greatest pirate
I feel
I've
like
ever seen.
the Pirates of the Caribbean
Yeah,
just
yeah,
got
I
more
remember.
and more ridiculous and extravagant as they went on because they couldn't really figure out like what else to do with it. So we stopped focusing on the characters and we started focusing on big fucking whirlpools and like goddesses
No,
and stuff.
no,
that
but
were
Yeah, they did
sprouting
a lot
out
of set
everywhere.
pieces.
That was-
They did a lot of set pieces.
That was the okay. You have a point if you're looking at the later films, and even then, some of the later Pirates of the Caribbean films actually not that bad. A lot of people sleep on them. I'm not even joking. Pirates of the Caribbean. Let me find it. I
Okay.
can't remember which film it was
Okay.
because they've made like 20.
Okay, what's better?
Yeah,
Pirates of the Caribbean or Transformers?
definitely Pirates of the Caribbean. I would
Oh,
take Pirates of the Caribbean
Pirates
every
any
time.
day. Yeah, no, Pirates any day.
Wow.
So
that was
this
pretty convincing.
This list is actually kind of interesting because you said that a lot of trilogies aren't good, but I actually like I'm kind of scrolling through this and there's like parts where I agree with you and then there are parts where I don't, right? Because one of my favorite trilogies was the Mighty Ducks trilogy. Three
never
great
seen
movies. Oh, those are three great movies. Like seriously, Emilio Estevez, like those that he just blew me away. Like I love those films, right? Austin Powers trilogy was funny from the beginning to the end. Now, granted, that might have been a little bit offensive for British people, but out here in the United States, that shit slapped. Like that was
offensive to
really
British people?
Dude, I get
Austin
you. It's
Powers,
like the Swedish
the Austin
chef,
Powers
dude.
trilogy.
Austin
They're
Powers
just
is
screwed us over.
fantastic.
Yeah,
I'm
okay,
pretty
good.
sure-
I
I'm pretty
actually
sure
didn't
they
know
were
if
made by British people. That's the
It's-
reason they're so good.
It's a mock at the James Bond movies.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know that. I
Yeah.
just didn't know if people found it like because there were so many people like when like because you don't understand like these movies were so popular, especially like when I was a kid, that we were talking like British folk like all the time. It was like
Really?
and like oh dude, and I mean the accents were just terrible. Like we
Oh my
just
God. I
but
didn't
it
even
was
realize.
so funny.
Austin Powers was written by Americans. Written by
No,
Mike
yeah, that's what I'm
Myers,
saying. No,
who's
They just
Canadian.
take cultures and nationalities and screw them over. They took the Swedish chef and they made all Swedish people look bad. Like it's just unbelievable. And they did the same with British people. and
I
Austin Powers.
assumed I assumed that Austin Powers was made by British people because we can actually make fun of ourselves without getting annoyed, unlike Americans.
Mm.
But Michael Caine was in the movie, so I guess you guys can kind of be okay, right?
Okay.
I actually thought
I
Mike
have two
Myers
thoughts.
was. I thought Mike Myers was British.
Maybe like no, he's American, but maybe
he's
like
not
a
American,
British.
he's Canadian.
Canadian.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, sorry, North American.
I have
Same
two
difference.
thoughts here.
Oh wait,
Mad
real
Max. I actually.
Yeah,
What,
go,
what do you
go,
mean
Johnny.
real quick? I'm
Go,
also
Johnny.
being fucking real quick.
quick. Johnny, no, fuck you because you got up when we were talking. I was trying to explain to you about Back to the Future, but go ahead and talk about Mad Max. I love those damn movies. Go.
We moved on. We moved on, brother. Come on, dude. Your moment
really
to pop
did.
off is a has-been. Okay, it's no longer.
No, that's not
Mad
true at all.
Max. I had no idea that was actually a trilogy. I thought there was only one Mad Max movie, and then they made like a modern one based on the original one. But there's actually three.
Yes.
And I might watch all three of them because I really like the Mad Max kind of setting and yours. Has anyone seen it?
I've seen
Are the Mad Max movies good?
Mad Max 1 and The Road Warrior. I've never seen Beyond the Thunderdome.
All right, I might
But-
watch that. And also, there was another trilogy I was surprised that was here. That's
So, yeah.
actually really good.
I wanted to talk about what Josh said real fast because Johnny was getting beer. You had talked
Matrix.
about that trilogies don't end out well, and Johnny mentioned the Matrix, and you're actually right because I'm going through this and I'm thinking to myself like, oh man, yeah, no, this trilogy was dope. This trilogy was dope. But then I think about like the last movie and I'm like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
the last movie just wasn't that good. Like
Yeah,
for
it's almost
example,
always the last
another
one. Right?
one of my favorites ever was the Mariachi, which was like I loved it and started with El Mariachi. Then they did Desperado. I love Desperado. I mean, I love that movie so much. And then they closed it with Once Upon a Time in Mexico, and that was like
Hello?
not that good. Yeah, we're here. We're here.
My internet died.
Okay,
Oh, it's
you
just-
guys got to fix your internet.
Yeah.
Yeah, this
Dying out
is
here.
scuffed
Hello?
episode. But I loved that that series. But Once Upon a Time in Mexico, which was super hyped up, by the way, was like a total letdown. So I kind of agree with you. Then the next one was Blade trilogy. Blade 1 and Blade 2, dope ass movies. Blade Trinity, not that good. Like, yeah, so I think you might actually be onto something here, even though I disagree with you on your thoughts on Back to the Future.
Mm.
Terrible. Anyway,
What was I gonna say?
This is the kind of shit that I really enjoy. Like, we didn't put this down in the document. We just sit here, I drink beer and eat Pringles, and we just talk about fucking trilogies. I'm having
what's wrong with you guys and
and
Pringles? I've never seen a group of people be so
We-
infatuated with a chip
I got
before.
40
Monsters.
cans!
We
What
are
do you want me
No,
to do with it?
I know that the league is sponsored.
It's
Are the three of you
sponsored.
sponsored?
No.
I got free food!
I mean, yeah, they give us free food. So.
And why am I not getting any Pringles? It's some bullshit. I know I'm not associated with the league anymore, but they damn like to use my voice
Oh
all
my
the
God.
time for like the intros and shit.
True.
So why
Oh
can't
God.
they send me some Pringles?
You
Yeah.
gave me the opportunity to like say 50 different jokes right there. That was like the worst. Like, you set yourself up for failure right there.
What did I
And
do?
Because I'm your friend, I decided to not
No,
go
if you
with
were
any
his-
kind of
if you were his
banter
friend, you should've-
whatsoever.
Oh, go ahead, Johnny.
No.
Bring it
No.
on. Bring it
No,
on.
I'm your friend.
He said
so
to them,
I
you slam dunk it.
refuse.
That's the way it works.
Yeah, and then now the moment is gone, and I decided in the
The
moment
ball is
to
gone.
not slam dunk because I am your genuine friend. But if the viewers realized, I had an opportunity to slam dunk on you, fool, and I didn't take it because I'm your friend.
That's just some great. I would love to hear Johnny in a Valorant trash talk session just be like, "You got dominated there, fool. Good job." Oh, I'm kidding. You know, like just be great.
I'm kidding, bro.
I'd like to talk
Why do
about.
you have to be mad?
I'd like to
Yeah.
talk about Tropical Race 4.
Yeah. So wait, Tropical
Sorry.
Race 4. What do you mean, like
Tropical Race 4 is not a trilogy or a movie.
it's a movie? What is it?
No, it is a disease that is affecting bananas.
Oh, okay. I was gonna get to that.
I've
Man,
been
go for it.
bursting to talk about
Tropical
it, Alex.
4.
Yeah,
Okay, go for it.
Tropical Race
As soon as you
4.
put
Okay.
the topic in, you laid a groundwork. I already know about this disease. I read about it a couple of years ago.
Right. Do you guys, are you aware that there is basically one type of banana in the world? Like every
No,
banana
that's
that
not true.
Yeah.
Every banana. It's not literally true, but for all of the bananas that you've probably eaten in your lifetime, they have probably been very, very similarly genetically, almost genetically identical. Because, I mean,
there's
bananas.
one kind of banana in like South America, and I think there's a more genetically modified one in North America. There's a unique one in India.
Right, but have you ever eaten them?
India and Southeast Asia, there's multiple types of bananas.
Well, what I'm saying is,
but the ones
Jesus
you most
fucking
likely
Christ,
ate
you've probably
has
eaten
been
you've probably eaten hundreds of different varieties of apples, though, right? You've had Granny Smiths, you've had red ones, you've had fucking weird ones in the middle, you've had sour ones, you've had all sorts of things. For bananas, you must have eaten. I mean, I've eaten thousands of bananas in my lifetime, and they're pretty much all been the same type of banana. And you know, the memes about banana skins being slippy and shit. Like, that's based on a previous type of banana that died out. But the reason that it's so pervasive in popular culture and in cartoons and stuff is that was the type of banana that was back then. I don't even know how long ago that was. I think that was like the 50s. Was it the 60s?
50s, 60s.
Yeah. So
were they like way smaller too?
Yeah, they were smaller, they were sweeter, they had like a more pungent banana flavor. And so the issue
Indian bananas.
Yeah, there's tons of them around there. There's a picture of it here. But the bananas that are currently around are the Cavendish bananas. These are the ones that you see when you're kind of going shopping in North America.
Yeah, the yellow banana.
Yeah, the yellow banana that starts green and it's perfectly fine when you ship it out green. And it is currently getting overwhelmed by a pandemic, by tropical race 4, a disease that you can't really tell when they first get it. And as soon as it's like, it's a bit like COVID, right? It passes it's when it's asymptomatic. And it is currently rampaging its way through the world, and it's found its way to Central America, which is where most of the bananas get exported from.
The way it works is sorry.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say the reason it's not easy to cure it by simply like quarantining or burning the crops when that kind of thing breaks out is because it's a fungus that infects the soil for up to at least a couple of decades, I think. It embeds itself in the soil itself, the fungal spores, and affects the banana plants that way.
So what happens to it? Like,
it kills the plants. It kills the the trees.
So the banana
doesn't allow them to produce anything. But this happened in the 1960s with the Gros Michel, I think is how it's pronounced. Banana. This happened in the 60s already because essentially the banana industry only grew one type of banana, which meant that it's super susceptible to one big disease wiping it out. And the exact same happened again with the same disease, I think, or maybe a minor alteration of the same disease with the current bananas that we're eating. I don't know what the name of it is.
These ones are the Cavendish bananas.
It's already been spreading across Australia. It's already infected in Australia and Asia. And it hadn't hit Latin America, as far as I'm aware, until what Josh is saying. Apparently, this is news to me, but quite worrying news, actually.
So it's something that kills the plant and it'll kill the banana. Bananas are actually like really, really. So
they are one of the most important food
Yes.
groups, I think, in the world, just on the basis of how cost effective.
The world's most popular fruit.
I eat bananas regularly. It's a common part of my breakfast. I get a cup of coffee and a banana.
Yeah.
I love it. George says it's the most popular fruit in the world, and Goldenboy is like, "Yeah, I'm contributing to the world by eating bananas on the regular."
I'm
like, we got
part of
China, bro. We got India, but Goldenboy is hammering away on the bananas, bro.
Fam. So when you mentioned about this banana disease, I thought that I thought it was like something with the bananas, and I'll give a story here for if you guys wouldn't mind for a moment, right? I go to the supermarket all the time, and me and my wife, my loving wife Cynthia, we take yes, right. I'm from the Bronx. We take a. By the way, everyone always gives me crap about that, man. Shit. Anyway, moving on. So I love you guys. So we take our time to the fresh fruits and the produce section because that's like a majority. She likes always getting like fresh broccoli and zucchini and stuff like that. Even though my plebeian ass is like, get it all frozen, I'm good, but she likes to have it fresh all the time. But bananas is like a thing that I buy every single time. I put in my shake. I have it in the breakfast. I use it for cornflakes because obviously cornflakes are the palette or the platform upon which you can really express your creativity as a cereal. And cornflakes allows me to be able to do that. So I'm able to put bananas and strawberries and blueberries and almonds, because that is obviously how great cornflakes is. So anyway, so I got these bananas one day and they seemed all normal and fine. And then I left them in, in my holding area, if you will. And I had one, and then the next day I went and I grabbed another, and I noticed that like the end of the banana was like kind of soft and it was really weird. I didn't understand like why. But I cut it off and then I just used the rest of the banana and then I was good. And then the next day I went to go have a banana, and then all the bananas were fucking oozing. And they were all oozing and it was just liquid everywhere. And I didn't understand what the hell was going on. It was like at least four bananas just oozing, gushing. It was disgusting. I genuinely, and they were everything just became mushy and I didn't understand what the hell was happening. So when you mentioned that, I thought this was like Bren's Korea coronavirus story where I was like, I witnessed the disease, but clearly this is something that gets it like way earlier than landing on the storefront.
Maybe it is something to do with that. I actually don't know. I know that they have to wash bananas before they ship them off in case they transmit some of the fungus. It's very weird. I don't know.
Does this affect humans though? This disease?
No, not the disease, but I mean, not having bananas is going to have very big ramifications, I think.
Has there?
Go on.
Okay.
Not having bananas. You don't have enough food to be able to support certain people. It's very
Some
cheap,
people just
highly calorific
rely
food
on
source.
bananas
As
a food source.
I have two questions. No, actually, I'll go through two quick ones. First, I can't remember what it actually said. But if you want to know more about this banana thing, check out Ugly Delicious on Netflix, which is a great food show I've been watching with David Chang. He was
it's a
like
good show.
Major Domo in like Las Vegas and stuff. We were there to eat, Josh, when we had that beef or whatever. That's his restaurant, and he has a great show on Netflix called Ugly Delicious. And he went to India with Aziz Ansari, and they talked about the bananas and like all that shit. So if you want to know more about the banana shit, check out that. Here's my question. We always hear about like animals like going extinct and shit. Has there like been food, obviously non-animal, like has there been like fruits or like veggies that are like gone extinct that we?
I can actually answer this.
This is so interesting.
So
I'm sure there has been.
In the book that I got you for Christmas,
Sapiens.
Johnny, Sapiens. He goes.
Oh, you got Sapiens too? I have that book. Yeah,
I got it from Bren, dude. Best gift ever.
Yeah, he goes over in that book. There's this, not necessarily specific cases, but essentially when humans were going over from hunter-gatherer over to a more farming lifestyle, some of the hurdles they face and some of the hurdles we still face, just less so because we've gotten better with technology and farming methods. But it was a disease wiping out their crop. They wouldn't have any diversity in terms of what they were farming and what they were going for. It would be like barley or grains, things like that, and they would stick with one type. And what you'd find is that there was evidence that they had these tribes that were farming, and they've been farming for 100 years, or they've been farming for multiple generations, I should say. And this is right when the transition was started happening. So there were some Homo sapiens that were still hunter-gatherer, some that were getting into farming. And there's evidence to suggest that the ones that were getting into farming for many generations lived, but one big cataclysmic event basically wiped out their farm, whether it was disease, pestilence, whatever it was, flooding, something that caused the crop to fail, but disease being one of them. And that one crop that they were living off was wiped out. And because hunting and gathering is a learned process, it's not something that's built into our DNA, those tribes died off because they didn't know how to hunt. They didn't know how to hunt and gather. It's something that's taught down in that kind of chain. So there's like examples of essentially Homo sapien tribes way back then dying because of disease inflicting on the crops they were farming. The one or two crops, they didn't have any diversity in terms of what they were eating.
Crops went away, and then the people couldn't hunt and gather. They couldn't survive.
They didn't have the information. It's like a learn.
They lacked the critical information.
They really did.
They did. They did.
That's actually pretty nutty.
What I find really interesting as well in all of this is that there are like solutions to being able to fix the like genetic diversity of the bananas and options for making the bananas more resistant to these kind of stuff. But a lot of it comes down to money, because bananas have been grown in an area of the world which has been just massively exploited. When bananas were first discovered by the kind of, I want to say Western world, but that doesn't really make sense because Europe was further east than Latin America. So, but what I mean is like when Europeans came and found bananas and decided to introduce a huge amount of money into farming and exporting them, there was massive amounts of just colonial exploitation of the. They kind of put a bunch of money into the governments that propped up the banana farming, and they created something that's known as the banana republics, which
like
is
a clothing store.
Yeah, yeah. Which I have no idea why you would want to name yourself after a politically unstable dictatorship propped up by capitalism. I don't know why you would want to name yourself after that, but the idea of it is super interesting.
That's why I go to the Gap.
Banana republics are basically like where a state gets all of its GDP from the natural resources that are in the ground, whether that be agriculture or whether that be minerals. And it tends to be really bad for a country. If you are on rich land and you have no motivation to educate your populace and make your populace the thing that actually brings in your money, then the people in charge are just incentivized to keep people really poor and mining shit out the ground or like picking bananas. And it leads to this horrible scenario where the way to rule is just by putting is just by essentially making sure that you have control of the money, because the money is fed into making sure that you just get more bananas and sell more bananas and just keep looping it back in. And it caused real horrific problems for like Central American, maybe some South American countries as well. I think it was like Honduras and Guatemala, I think it was as well. And so a lot of these countries as well, we still haven't got out of the stage of paying enough for our bananas so that people have the wages necessary so that this entire system can end up rebooting properly, so that you can have proper like
it's almost
care
like
for
if
them
we
and
paid people what they should be getting paid for the work that they're doing, we actually could solve a lot of problems.
Yeah, but how about getting really rich and staying in power for a long time?
Dude, tight.
Because that's what they do.
Because those people are already dead now that like set up that system. So fuck it. What do they care if some tropical race 4 is devastating bananas for their grandchildren?
Bro,
they got rich.
Crazy. And yeah, but this is going on with the Cavendish bananas. In my understanding, this is not going on with like all bananas. This is specifically because there are 1,000 different types of bananas.
But I think Cavendish ones are basically almost all of the bananas that end up getting sold in like North America and Europe to supermarkets. The mass export of bananas, if you're transporting them over long distances, they tend to go for Cavendish bananas because you can transport them while they're green and they ripen themselves. I think they emit like ethene or something that just ripens them. Whereas the other bananas, I think if you picked them while they were ripe, they wouldn't ripen. Or either they'd like go moldy or something. I don't exactly know what would happen, but it's much more difficult. So in areas where you have local banana farming and you can get to markets and buy from markets and get them fresh, then you have much more genetic diversity of the bananas. But if you actually want to, put them into the pipeline of throwing them into supermarkets and waiting days for that chain to process, then you kind of need Cavendish.
I'm just glad that it doesn't affect my people, because we fuck with the plantain. That's our jam.
Sorry, what?
Yeah, we do like
Fuck with the what?
we fuck with the plantain, dog.
You never
know
had
about the
plantain?
What's plantain?
You've been
It's a
to a
type of
Peruvian
banana.
restaurant. You went to the Peruvian restaurant that Alex's roommate's
Yes.
what was it? Roommate's friend owns.
Roommate's friend from Peru. Yeah, did you guys have platanos there?
I
I
did,
don't think
yeah.
I had
It was so good.
plantain.
Oh shit. Yeah, because we Puerto Ricans do two types of bananas. We do plátanos and maduros. And one is like a regular banana that's like starchier and more like you can kind of like, you ever had plantain
Look it up.
chips, right?
No.
Like the okay,
But
well,
I
dude,
understand
you're
this
missing out.
concept. I'm looking at it.
Yeah. So it's basically
It's like a
not
savory
sweet
big
banana.
banana.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
savory
yeah.
big banana. And then we also have another banana that we use, which is maduros, which according to this, maduros come from, I think the species is Musa paradisiaca, or genus is Musa. So it's like a Musa banana. And so they're not Cavendish bananas. So whew, we're good.
Okay.
I mean, maybe that's a little selfish of me.
But the
Actually,
fungus,
it's very selfish
the
of me.
fungus does spread between banana types.
Don't say that.
Well, it does.
Which
So-
is
Why
how-
why are you trying to do this, bro?
Which is kind of how it has
trying to kill me?
led to
no it
trying to
just
wipe
means
out two
that
different types in a century.
They need more genetic diversity of banana so that this doesn't really happen.
So like, what, you want a banana to get like arms and legs and shit?
No, just basically, Alex, incest is bad even in bananas because it leaves you just open to many types
Yo,
of
that's
disease.
crazy. So like, incest in bananas is also bad.
Mhm.
Yeah,
That's-
just
yo,
incest
that's
in
nuts.
general in making anything.
Yo, that's like that's pretty wild, right? Because like, when you think about back then, when all these, like monarchies and, I guess royal families were just banging each other ferociously, Lannister style, to just try and, get them keep it within the bloodline. Like,
Yeah, I don't.
their logic was
Yeah.
sound. It made sense. It was like, oh,
Did it?
well, if we just fuck each other, then we'll be fine. But then you realize that there just creates these deformities, and I think it's nuts. It's like, wow, human body is a crazy thing. Actually reminds me of a movie.
Well,
Trying to see
uh,
if I can find it.
what?
I did find it.
What,
Where
Bren?
do I start?
I found a movie.
I'm
go
actually
for
just gonna ignore you.
No, because it's about incest. It's like actually about family that.
No, I'll be honest with you. I
engaged in
was
incest.
looking at a video of Path of Exile cosmetics.
Okay.
I wasn't really paying attention. I just thought you were trying to defend incest.
I
No,
don't
No,
know.
I'm actually not trying to defend incest. You
Well, I wasn't
fucking
listening. I was
moron.
looking at Path of Exile cosmetics.
Jesus.
I'm actually excited you still play that game.
Why? Then they released a new thing. So they released a new
update?
expansion. Yeah, new update.
Oh wow, I
So,
gotta give that game a
being-
try.
I've been casually playing it. It's very difficult to get into if you're just a new player to that game because the trouble is with Path of Exile that makes it really good to play if you've played it before is that they add expansions like every so and often. I say expansion, it's like they add a little content pack. But if you ever played
Yeah.
Minecraft with mods, you know how fucking convoluted it can get if you just keep adding mods.
Yeah, that's true.
That's essentially what they've done, and they don't really prune out the content often. So you end up with a lot of old content in the game that new players, when they're playing, they'll come across it and they'll be like, what is this? Like, what is this? Like, there's a dude, he's like, there's a dude that you find in random areas, and he's like, we must hunt beasts, and then you have to kill beasts and then summon them in a separate area to create items. And then there's another guy who's like, you must collect this resource, and then there's a mining mini game on one part of the game. And now that the newest thing they've released is literally Farmville. You build a farm, and you're farming up these fruits that spawn monsters. It's like they keep adding the content. It's all well and good, but it's so
Yeah, they're doing a bad job of.
convoluted.
They're doing a bad job of getting the loop going. It's almost
just,
it's
like,
almost
rotating out some of the
incestual.
content.
It's almost
It's
incestual
not-
what they're
I mean,
doing. They just
it's not
keep
incestual.
fucking
I don't know what your
themselves, you know?
obsession is with
and then they
incest. It's
they
kind
keep
of
going,
odd.
and then they make it.
I mean, in other news, I got banned from Dark Souls 3.
Wait, what?
It's a
I
single player
booted up
game.
Dark Souls 3, and it said you have been penalized for cheating.
What?
Isn't that a single player game?
Yeah, but they banned cheaters in the game, and I think it was. I don't know why it was, Josh. Honestly, I looked at my save files, and there was nothing there. But I did play Dark Souls 3 with the randomizer mod on it at some point. Like once I played through it recently, and my last playthrough was with a randomizer mod, and I think I've got a save file somewhere on my PC with the randomizer data.
Maybe next to the porn.
Yeah, yeah, and the game. I mean, who downloads porn, Alex? It's 2020.
He's a boomer, okay? That was the pro gamer move.
Like actually, it's kind of counterproductive to have Blu-ray porn. Have you ever considered that?
No, I've never.
I don't want to see the pores on someone's face.
You don't want to see what?
You know what I mean?
Oh, because like
you enjoy lower bit rates.
Yeah, I think like 720p is like the sweet spot.
Why?
You know? Because it kind of adds like a unnatural beauty filter.
Right. Just because it's a slight blur.
Blurs it out. Because otherwise, if it's too high quality, you see everything. You're seeing.
You see the imperfections.
Yeah, you see the imperfections in a human, and that's like, you know.
Wow.
Like, no, I mean, but I didn't know you were. But we should embrace our imperfections.
What's your take on 60 FPS?
I actually don't watch
30
FPS porn.
Yeah, what's your ideal for the frame rate as well, Bren?
Yeah,
you've already said what your perfect resolution is.
Like 58 frames per second.
58?
58.95, 58 or 59.95 is
59.
Why is that, Bren?
Whatever. I'm joking. I actually don't watch that much porn as much as that sounds like a fucking meme.
Thoughts on VR porn?
I can see Bren being one of those guys who go like on NoFap on Reddit.
I actually when I was a kid I did.
Was my
when I was a kid.
When
I was
a kid.
When I was a teenager, I went on that NoFap shit, and it actually gave me a lot of confidence as a placebo effect. I think it's bullshit. It doesn't work. But as a placebo, when I was a kid, it gave me a lot of confidence.
Placebo is
like,
very
you walk around in school like,
I'm gonna be,
I don't jerk off the porn.
Yeah,
I know I'm gonna be judged here. What's NoFap subreddit? What is it? What is it?
It's like it's a state. It's like apparently people try and argue that there's some science behind it, where if you just don't masturbate, you build up testosterone in your body, and it gives you like confidence or whatever shit. I don't know. When you were a teenager, you were quite impressionable, and like I believed it when I was like 16.
You know, cornflakes were designed to stop people masturbating. Yeah, they were designed to be so boring, so much of a dreadful cereal that it would just reduce your.
That's not the argument behind it.
That sounds really dumb.
The reasoning
they probably said that to sell boxes.
No way, no. This was like
children, right?
super fundamentalist person, and he wanted everything in life to be as simple as possible, because if you didn't have extra stuff, then you wouldn't turn to the devil.
Well, that's basically that. You know, we can't hold cornflakes accountable for that now. That was that person's thought process, but cornflakes has evolved and changed and has become a symbol, I think, of modern society, to the point where it is, as I've mentioned previously in numerous times on this podcast and on various other forms of entertainment platforms previously, cornflakes is the canvas upon which you can create beautiful art.
Are you being paid by the corn lobbies?
So what was original?
Not at all.
Cornflakes?
Not at all. It's just delicious across the board.
The point I was making, though, is that the porn's pretty bad. You shouldn't watch it.
Oh yeah, that I can actually get on board with. Because I actually think it's kind of toxic. It's the social media.
It changes your brain to have different expectations, you know. And some people find that, you know, they watch too much porn, suddenly they can't bust a nut anymore.
Yeah, hell yeah, brother.
That's why I don't need.
It's awkward. There's a great awkward silence here. It's awesome. It's like
I completely
think about it, and I can just bust a nut.
No, but there's so many, like, I'm totally on board with the you know, like there's so many, like, quote unquote, like, smart people on Twitter that always go around, and like every corner they're like, yeah, you shouldn't be on social media, you shouldn't eat sugar, you shouldn't watch porn, you know, because like they impact our mental health so much.
Dude, Instagram's terrible for that stuff. Instagram, it changes your.
I want to get a farm. Move to a farm. Get my own fruits,
follow a lot of
veggies, herbs.
Get a banana farm.
I follow a lot of cosplayers, because I like cosplay, funnily enough. But unfortunately, the people who follow cosplayers, so it recommends you stuff. Where do you think I'm going with this, John?
So you were just talking about, I don't watch porn, and then you're like, So I've substituted it with cosplay.
No, because that's not true. That's not
But
true. Not all
I like
You
your
can
cosplay,
remove
right?
recommendations, Bren. You can click on images and be like, I don't want to see more. Like,
Well,
this in
I'm
my
about to show you an
recommendations.
example of what is my feed, right?
Don't.
Because it bases you
No,
off of it.
no.
No, it bases you off of it based on who you follow and who commonly follows them and the accounts they follow to try and find pictures you
Oh, the
might like.
profiles.
Yes, I'm talking
Oh, I
about
thought you meant in the search
the
filter.
search algorithm. And so I follow bodybuilders, cosplayers, and weeb shit.
So you
And
get buff woman in your.
I get buff women, I get
Anime
anime,
buff
and I
women.
get cosplayers, and I get Matt Mercer, apparently.
Ah,
What's his name?
yeah, Matt Mercer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And here it is. I don't know if you can see it. There's Matt Mercer in the corner.
Good
Is
looking
this
man.
going to be safe
And
to
then-
show?
Yeah, the rest of them are just like women, like some of them are just actually
Dude,
just
did
not
you-
even cosplaying.
You see
They're
the
just-
bell shit on YouTube? I think we're good, man. Like YouTube
What's the bell
apparently
shit
allows.
on YouTube?
I don't even know what she's called. The
I saw someone.
controversial bathtub water chick.
Yeah,
thingy.
someone
Oh,
tweeted
Bella-
at me
Belle
saying.
Delphine?
Yeah, someone
They
tweeted at
allow
me
all
saying.
kinds of shit on YouTube these days.
Imagine.
Fucking.
Imagine simping for Belle Delphine when the owl people look like this, and it was just a picture of us all in like
Yeah.
scantily clad.
Yeah.
I mean, true.
Yeah,
True.
dude.
Screw that shit. At some point, like, I feel like I'm getting to the point where I'm like turning 25 in like 2 weeks or something. And I'm like, what's
long.
the age?
Mm.
What's the age where I'm like, okay, I spent my entire life, or not, like large majority of my life, in front of a computer with social media. Like, what age will I like tap out and be like, I can't handle this shit anymore? Like, I want to move on and just like.
I don't think you
26.
ever will. No.
No, I will totally. At some point, I totally will. Like, I have it in the
Well, you
back
think
of my
you'll just-
mind
you
where it's
think
like,
you'll
I
exit?
want to. What?
You think you'll just stop consuming social media?
I'll be less dependent on it for sure. Like, I want to get to the point where I'm like, I don't need social media apps on my phone, and where they're not bookmarks on my, like now I'm in the situation where I'm forced to do that because it's like part of my career, whatever, clout, like whatever, all that shit. But at some point, I'm like, I don't want that to be a consistent thought in my head in my day-to-day life. It's like, yeah, it's cool to staying up to date on like news and stuff, but I don't want it to be like a social dependency in my life,
So I think it's quite interesting how, I'm 32, Johnny's 25. You two are in the middle, right?
I'm
I believe.
24.
I'm
Never mind, you're
26.
younger. You're 26. So never mind. You guys are all literally fucking children.
Yeah, actually, though, do you know what I've been thinking about recently? Sorry, finish your point.
No.
first, and
Go.
I'll-
Your point's
I was
probably
gonna
more
say,
interesting.
God, I feel like I have changed quite a lot from the beginning of the Overwatch League to now.
Oh, for sure.
I mean,
Like-
I
For
hope so.
sure.
It's kind of crazy, I think.
All
I was
three
like
of you,
21,
as a matter of fact.
20 when I can't
Yeah.
remember.
Dude, living alone this year has just like.
You've done a
I
lot
don't
of
know.
living. You've done. I mean, you got more living to do. Don't get me wrong.
But it's
But
a.
you guys
I
have
think
certainly
it's
done a lot of
to, like, not many 21-year-olds are like put into the. I was thinking about this, but like the position I've been put in just kind of forced me to mature up at an accelerated rate, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You
Because you were
understand what I
exposed in a
mean?
corporate culture. You were.
Yeah,
You were
like,
doing
not
and
many
engaging
I
with
don't know,
people.
though.
Shit.
Because I compare myself, and I mean this is very personal, so I can't speak for you, Bren. But like I visited Sweden and met my old friends in Sweden like this past winter, and they were like they had regular jobs. They most likely had their own places, and they probably took out a loan from a bank, and they were living like your typical 20-year-old
Well, I don't
life.
mean.
And I'm like, they took care of themselves, and I'm like.
Yeah.
I'm fucking around on social media, and it's like I really love my job and I love what I'm doing and I love video games.
yeah.
Don't get me wrong, but I'm like they were very.
They were put
They
together.
felt grown up. They felt
But
grown up. I was like
I
they
think-
they know what they're doing.
I think we just have different definitions of maturity. Because,
Maybe.
like, you see it as getting to a state where you're almost self-sufficient, I suppose, right? in where you live,
Yeah,
where you
that's
can
true.
take
Yeah,
care of
yeah,
yourself.
yeah.
I don't see that as a sign of maturity. I think it's your attitude towards day-to-day life. I think it's the way your outlook on how you look at things in general. When I came into the Overwatch League, I was like a naive youngster, I was like going into meetings, quite prone to quite emotional outbursts, like I still am, but I think now I've learned to temper it to a degree where uh yeah, I'll give you an actual example, and I remember I said this to you privately as well, GB, recently. But like the difference between me coming into an important meeting back then, going into an important meeting now, was that when I was younger, like I used to get unraveled, by like sort of this kind of environment, like stepping in a room with someone in a position of authority, like your boss, like almost
Yeah.
like anxious over meetings, and I used to, blabber a lot and talk a lot. But now it's like I just have much more confidence going into situations like that,
Yeah.
and knowledge of how to approach it, and knowledge of how corporate environments work as well. Because like I didn't really understand why certain things didn't happen in the Overwatch League to begin with, but
I had
then
no clue.
the more like the longer you spend in that environment, the more you learn. Oh, actually, just big corporations, the bigger they get, the more inefficient they are, and it's not any one person's fault. It's just the nature of the system,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
Hashtag fuck
I
meetings.
just find it interesting.
Yeah.
I find it interesting because you guys grew up in a very different, like you grew up with social media already existing in your life.
Yeah.
Whereas I grew up witnessing the birth of it all, right? Like not in a boomer sense, whereas like I was an adult seeing social media. Like no, I was a teenager, and we were in the first wave, right? We were, the MySpace profiles, and then Facebook was still a platform only for college kids, and we were kind of like just discovering what all this was and what it could lead to. So I think that, to Johnny's point about, maybe backing off, it's simply because you're so used to it, because you literally were raised in that world, just like all these other kids that are being born, that have been born, that are, you see the kids with their TikTok videos. I sound like a boomer there, I'm sorry, but all that stuff, that like that's just normal for them now, right? Like that to me is a pretty nutty concept. But that said, though, you are totally in control of being able to disconnect yourself at any point in time. It's harder though, because you are alone. If you like, let's say like during COVID, right? You were by yourself. So the only thing that you realistically can do is go on social media, because I mean, you could read books,
yeah.
you could watch TV, but like that stuff can only go for so long. And we as humans naturally seek out the comfort of others, and we naturally like to engage in dialogue and conversation, which is why podcasts exist, which is why this show exists. So I think that because of that, it will be challenging, but it's not difficult for you to do so. Now, also, just to kind of add to what you also said regarding you and your friends in Sweden and stuff, right? Like I deal with this a lot, and I'm 32 years old, right? And I have a lot of friends that, my world is just not what they live in. Like they just don't, not that they don't understand it.
Yeah,
they're just
absolutely.
not, they're like, I'm just living a completely different world. And I know it just could sound egotistical or whatever, but like I'm on a fucking TV set with Dwayne Johnson, right? Like that's stupid. It makes no sense. How can I possibly like relate to my friends? And I oftentimes struggle to be able to actually do that, because I know that like my problems are like, even though I did grow up in that kind of environment, I haven't been in that environment for the last few years, So like, I don't really know how to actually talk to people about like when I'm mentally stressed out, because I always feel a sense of guilt whenever I talk about being stressed, because I was miserable working as a social worker. I loved working with the people I worked with, but I was miserable with the corporate hierarchy because I was younger, because I didn't understand what the hell was going on. To an extent, though, a little scummy, as I've learned more and more over the years. But even then, I was young, I was immature, and I didn't really get what was going on. Life was hitting me fast. I was married early in my life. I got married when I was 20, So like, I like everything was just kind of slapping me in the face, and I was still playing Final Fantasy in my room, and my mom was yelling at me to come down for dinner. And then before you know it, 3 months later, I'm married to another human being. It's just like wild, right? So I didn't really know how to like adapt all that stuff. And then because of that, I had to grow really fast. And to kind of like your point, like, this is a little personal, but like when I first got, when I got married, when I first got married, I've only been married one time. When I got married, I didn't really live, like I was 20 years old. Right. Yeah. And my wife, Cynthia, handled it way better than I did. Whereas like I'm now starting to get into this gaming world, and then I'm getting depressed because maybe we argue. And again, we are kids. We are idiot kids. I was living in my mom's basement, right? And I worked a full-time job. I was stressed. I was annoyed. We argued a bunch. There was like a lot of things just going on that just didn't really like help me out. And because of that, I, would interact with, like friends of mine or even like girls that I knew online. And I just didn't really know how to actually like, not talk to a girl and then sound like I am, like venting about my marriage and stuff. And then that leads to God knows whatever it could lead to. And I think because of that, I've learned a lot about in a short time, how to actually like engage with individuals on the internet in a manner that wasn't actually like damaging to myself and damaging to my wife. And that's like a whole lot of living you got to do when you're 20 fucking years old and you're married and you have no idea what the hell is going on in your life.
Yeah.
So now I sit here at the age of 32 reflecting on all that stuff when I was younger, and I'm just like, dear God, like I wish I would have had some lead up time, And
Well,
I did it.
I always think as well, because sometimes I listen to the Joe Rogan podcast, and whenever he gets when he gets Joey Diaz on and they're talking like about when they were 20 and and how dumb they were at 20, and they're saying this now when they're in their 50s or whatever, 60s.
Yeah.
And I look back at myself when I was 20 and I think I was a dumbass. I'm 24. What am I going to think in 4 more years? Am I going to think that 24-year-old me was a dumbass as well?
Yes.
I don't know. Yeah,
potentially,
probably, right?
Because you learn and you grow. So, like potentially you're going to reflect on. Like when I first got my job at IPL,
what I went in there up now that I'm going to look upon in 4 years time. I don't know.
No, I think it's just like the way you like engage with people, and perhaps not because you had a very different, everyone's life is different, and you had a very different circumstance in comparison to me, right? When I was 20, just married, trying to become a professional in Call of Duty, which was not working. Let me tell you right now. And working a full-time job at a case management agency where I worked with people who had HIV/AIDS. So I was exposed to some dark shit like throughout the day. And then I would come home, try and unwind. But then I also needed to learn how to be a husband. And I sucked. I genuinely sucked ass at being a husband. And I lashed out. I was frustrated. I didn't know what the hell to do. And I look back on it now, and I wish I can go back in time, hop on a DeLorean and just go back and just be like, dude, you got this, but maybe you don't try and feel like the world's against you. Maybe you just try and take a chill pill for a second and relax. I wish I would have had that advice. And I feel like you guys are young enough right now that you have that opportunity where you can look back and be like, dude, I was a dumbass when I was 20. The fact that you can have that thought process right now is fantastic. Whereas for me, it took me a long time to get to that point. A long time, So that's life.
Thank you for the speech on Father's Day, Daddy Goldenboy. That was wonderful as well.
You're our
speech of
daddy.
Self-improvement.
And we are three.
What?
Three dumbass kids.
Do you feel like, can you look back, can you reflect, Josh, on the last 6 years of your life?
Yeah, for sure. Well,
I never get this side of Josh. I'm intrigued.
See, here's the other thing as well. Beth keeps poking her nose in because she's cooked dinner, and now we've got into a serious conversation an hour and 23 minutes into the podcast.
I mean, I have to stream, so I'm already late.
But I will talk just for a little bit. I'll give it a couple more minutes, and I'll be there. See, this is me being a bad boyfriend right now in order to talk to you about how much better I am than I was 5 years ago. This is counterproductive. Absolutely counterproductive.
He's getting the bad look.
I know the look.
Yeah. but yeah, it's very possible to reflect just back on like 5 years ago or something. Yeah, but that's also because I went through a very similar maturation process later on. Like university isn't really that maturing, I think. Maybe in terms of some of your professionalization of just like attitudes you have towards work, but it isn't in terms of your interactions with other people. I mean, the university in the UK is just an excuse to get drunk and I don't know, just have fun. There isn't very much of that happens. So yeah, kind of when I stopped going to university and had just all of my time to myself, that was when I started reading a bunch of different stuff. I started reading a lot of philosophy stuff, and then getting into just the career aspect of esports more, and trying to learn about ethical journalism, because that was something that I was looking into, and trying to professionalize my attitude towards people in a career kind of sense as well, and then doing the Overwatch League.
Yeah, I love conversations
gonna
like these. We have to continue these at some point. Yeah. But Josh has to go.
Yeah, I know we all have to go. I just want to add the one moment I think back on that I think Josh and you, Johnny, I think you were present. I don't know. It was one of those. It was a party, I think, like when we moved to LA for the first time. And I'm not going to name any names, but there was an interaction I had with somebody where they couldn't remember my name, and I was drunk. And do you remember? I pressured him. I was like, literally in front of other people, just essentially calling him out. Look at Josh.
Sorry, I'm going to turn the webcam so that you can see her. She's put her head in the door frame, slamming the door on her own head. Like,
oh my God.
Things are getting to a critical mass. Bren, finish up your anecdote and let's go.
Anyway, yeah, the anecdote was, I think back on this moment a lot because I was just a dickhead to him because he couldn't remember my name. And that's like a certain level of arrogance as well, just assuming that people should know who I am. It's a certain amount of arrogance as well, and thinking that you can get away with talking to another human being like that. And I hate that. And that was only not even 3 years ago. Like that was when I joined the Overwatch League. Like that wasn't even that long ago. And it's like crazy how much that if I met me then, I would have probably fucking knocked him out. Like, what a dickhead. Actually, though, what a dickhead. Anyway, that's my moment that I was reflecting on recently.
Johnny Wholesome story of the day. So I literally, during the podcast, got a nice message from from a guildmate. A guildmate in America on my server I just made a character on said that I played Heroes of New Earth with him 10 years ago, and it's the first time we're talking for 10 years. And it was like, is that you?
Holy moly.
That is very sweet.
That's really cool.
And I was just stunned. Like, there's like 5 minutes in the episode where I'm like, so I'm going to chat with that guy. But
remind me to talk about prosthetic limbs on the next episode.
Yeah, and then remind me to talk about and giving you kids some
lessons. You ended the recording? He's ended the recording.
All right, bye.
Bye.
See you, everyone. Like, follow, subscribe. Bye.
He gone.